Once there was a child who was walking along a cobbled street with their mother. The street was full of curious little antique shops, art galleries, and quirky artisanal cafes. Every few steps the duo took, the child would have their eyes glued onto each scene, wide as if to swallow them whole. Eventually, they went into an art cafe at the end of the lane, where the crowds were more scarce. The cafe was the definition of warmth, creativity, and comfort. Little scented candles here and there, mismatched furniture of different sizes, and a sign that said there would be a daily art jam open for anyone who would like to join in creating artworks together. To the mother's surprise, the owner of the cafe was actually an old friend of hers whom she had lost contact with since high school. Her friend was now an artist who quit their corporate job to open up the cafe, and had been at it for quite a few years now. The two adults had a bit of a chat, catching up and whatnot, and soon the mother and child left. "Ma, your friend is super cool," the child said. "Isn't she?" the mother replied with a grin, though there was something hidden behind that smile. After a short pause, the mother said, It's so amazing to just drop whatever you're doing and start something, leaving all the stress behind. If only we could all do that." The child, puzzled, asked what she meant, and she simply said, "Oh, you'll understand when you're older." Hi there, I'm Finn, and for the past 2 months, my mind has been plagued by this one particular topic of interest, and I decided to make a video of it so that my thoughts might be somewhat at ease. The romanticization of art and hobby careers. Before I start, this is more of an open discussion type video, so I'd love to hear your thoughts, whether you're a creator or artist, or someone who appreciates art, or even if you're not in the art field at all voices are welcome. Just don't start a war in the comment section, please. Ever since viewing my art journey in a serious light and calling myself an artist, relatives and friends alike have given me very interesting takes on ambition and careers. I decided to put out a question on my Instagram for fun, asking, "Do you think art and hobby careers are overly romanticized, and why?" Not everyone responded, of course, but I had quite a few compelling replies. I also managed to get opinions outside of social media to widen my scope. As for the target group, wait, hold on. This is kind of sounding like a research paper now. I swear it wasn't intentional. Okay, maybe a little. Curiosity drives me most times, and the best way to know is to ask, right? As I was saying, I didn't actually have any target group in mind, but my respondents basically consisted of those who were in their emerging adulthood age. Some working, some not, a couple in the creative industry, and one very lovely lady at her retirement age. Thanks, Ma. To add a bit more context, my respondents are all residing in the city areas of Kuala Lumpur and Selangor, Malaysia. Going through their responses and asking a few follow-up questions, I managed to get their general ideas on the matter. Let's see what they had to say. Buckle up, fellas. The general consensus is that they all agree that art and hobby careers are constantly being overly romanticized to the point where they seem whimsical and somewhat otherworldly. In the perspective of those who aren't in the creative field, it's like looking in from the outside and seeing the supposedly greener grass, imagining a reality that would possibly never exist for them. To reiterate one of my respondents, it seems that art and hobby careers are seen as outside the normal job status. Seeing someone else pursue their hobby as a career brings out the perception that those people had the liberty to choose what they wanted to do with their life, and this invokes an internal longing, almost yearning feel, hence letting the mind wander on a path of what could have been. This is when people tend to make offhand comments towards creatives, like the mother from the short story I told you in the beginning of the video. However, in reality, these people don't fully grasp the instability and unpredictability that comes with creative careers. In another opinion, it also seems to be that many people tend to focus only on the thrill of the passion, traversing creativity, and overall personal fulfillment, overlooking the financial instability of making one's hobby or creative outlet a full time career. How long can one truly sustain themselves, considering the capricious income and pressures to create? This respondent also brought up the art block or writer's block phenomenon that comes at unprecedented times and can go on for unforeseen durations. Now, imagine having your creative passion be your primary full-time job. Do you think you'll be able to be constantly be pumping out new creations and ideas every few days or months for years on end? You'd have to, since it's the main thing that puts bread on the table, provided this job being the only job you have the ability to do. Speaking of creating for the sake of creating, in hand with creating on demand, most respondents brought up the issue of burnout. My artist friend pointed out that creating can take nearly all of one's mental energy. You know how sometimes artists say that in every piece they create, there's a bit of the creator themselves in each artwork? It might sound dramatic, but the weight of what that indicates is tremendous. It's not easy to be an artist. It sounds fun and quirky, but the reality is we are experiencing various horrors just like the rest of the world, maybe just a bit differently and maybe to a higher intensity at times. Relative to this, another respondent expressed that there exists a fear of pursuing an art or hobby career. They're hesitant to delve into the deep end because art is something precious to them that provides a sense of liberation and escapism from the mundaneness of the world. In their perspective, they think that once they decide to make it an actual career, they are afraid of replacing their sense of creativity for monetary value, which has the potential to turn what they love and want to do into something they need to do. To rephrase what they said, success stories in the art world exist due to luck, not the amount of hard work you've been putting in. Now, whether or not you agree to that notion, you've got to admit there is a truth to it. Your audience is waiting for more. Pressure builds up. Time seems to be running out. The algorithm certainly isn't on your side. You need to become the machine society wants you to be. But you can't. You're a human being. You can only do so much. So, you crumble beneath the weight of everything. The pedestal you so carefully erected is slowly cracking. And one more fan request sends everything crashing down along with you atop of it, leaving your lifeless body to rot in the abomination of what you once loved doing. Heart now full of loathing and spite. The tragic death of another happy creative. Alright, let's take a step back, shall we? Ooh, that got dark. Are y'all still with me? As you can see, the majority of the responses I got were very bleak. Just goes to show that art and hobby careers are not all sunshine and rainbows as people so easily perceive them to be. Reviewing the responses, the romanticizing thing reminds me of one short bedtime story I read when I was little. It was called The Golden Windows. The original story was written by Laura E. Richards back in 1881, but the one I read was a sort of modern retelling of it. The story was about a little girl who lived in a house on a hill. Every day she would look out at the opposite hill and see another house atop of it. It had glimmering golden windows, and she longed so much to live there. One day she took her bicycle and cycled all the way to that said house. Once she reached it, the house was just another ordinary building, no golden windows. When she looked back at her house on the other hill, however, the sun rays of the early evening reflected off the windows. Her house had golden windows now. These responses I lay out to you not to make you turn away from pursuing art or your hobby as a career, but rather to push you towards your passion. One respondent with the wisest insight on the issue neither said yes or no when I asked her the same questions. Instead, she said the answer depends on who you're asking. Are they in a position of financial stability? Are they only starting their career? Are they in the middle of all the chaos and suddenly having the urge to switch sides? According to her, this whole romanticizing thing applies to literally any career, not just the arts. This respondent, as well as a few others, agreed that no matter the seemingly large pile of negatives when it comes to art and hobby careers, they all implored for people to pursue them anyway. It all really depends on the individual themselves, their personal drive and motivation, their personality, their mental strength. For some, when you pursue a hobby as a career, you might kill the passion. Or not. Maybe all that pressure and stress will fuel you with so much adrenaline, you create something nobody has seen before. You want to do the thing your heart has been holding on to since you were 4 years old? Do it. But be smart about it and get your head out of the clouds. Pursuing an art or hobby career is definitely possible. One common theme I managed to observe when researching on being a full-time artist or creative today is that artists will say to not quit your main full-time job before delving into the art or hobby career. Art takes time, whether it be music, illustration, graphics, floral design, pottery, dancing, filmmaking, anything. Artists create based on their emotions and feelings and experiences. One needs to learn to pace themselves according to their own creative outbursts. Anyway, the point of all this is to say that having a rough idea and loose-ish plan before going ham at it is probably wise. At the same time, I think people forget that life is unpredictable and you don't just stay on one single thing all your life. Especially in today's world with the rise of new technology, the unsteady state of the economy, and living expenses, the list goes on and on. It's easy to go insane nowadays. I should know, I experience mental breakdowns nearly every month. I say that in a half joking, half serious notion. What do you have to say in this issue? Do you fully agree with my respondents? Are you against certain ideals? Maybe you're a punk and reject society's views on creativity and the art of creation itself. I love hearing other people's perspectives. It makes me feel like I'm interacting in a very organic and human way. Feels like the world becomes a nicer place to live in for a brief moment, you know? As always, if you enjoyed this video, leave a like and consider subscribing if you want to see more stuff like this. I'm still trying to find my own rhythm when it comes to the type of content I want to make, so your feedback is greatly valued. I consider YouTube my main platform, but I also am on Kara and Instagram. If you'd like to support me further, I have a Ko-fi as well. All links to my socials are in the description box. Before I end this video, I'd like to say Ramadan Mubarak to all Muslims out there. May our ibadah be accepted and may this month provide us valuable lessons and inner peace. This has been Finn and I'll see you on the next one.